Hey, welcome back to Everyday Economics, the podcast that helps you learn about the economic world happening around you every day. I'm your host, Chris Krug, CEO of the 501c3 nonprofit, nonpartisan Franklin News Foundation. Everyday Economics is a production of America's Talking Network, and you can subscribe to all of our podcasts at americastalking.com. Support Everyday Economics. Please make a tax-deductible charitable contribution by clicking the link in the show description. We're recording this episode on Friday, November 22nd. It is late in the afternoon for you and me, Dr. O. Joining me as always, Dr. Orphe Divounguy, PhD economist. We're going to talk about the week ahead. It's an interesting week. Of course, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. This is a terrific week here in the United States, and probably my most favorite holiday among all holidays that we celebrate here in the U.S. Your column at the Center Square runs every Monday, where you try to take a look ahead at what is coming up on the U.S. Economic calendar. Got some interesting things going on. It'll be a short week for a lot of people, so the markets will be somewhat kind of compacted. And but PCE is coming up this week, and so what are you anticipating seeing there?
Yeah, I think, look, inflation has been kind of rising, at least underneath the surface, right? In the last 3 months or so.
Yeah.
And I think inflation measured by the PCE price index might actually show an increase for the month of October.
Why do you think that? I mean, this is like, just to be clear for the people that are not completely steeped in the vernacular, we're talking about consumer price, or excuse me, personal consumption expenditures.
Yeah.
So what are you seeing that's making you feel this way?
Well, if you look at the 3-month average, it's been increasing since July or so.
Okay.
And then inflation was coming down last year, around this time last year.
Right.
It's kind of rising slowly. It's been rising slowly for the past 3 months under the hood, and so headline PCE and core PCE could actually move up a little bit when compared to a year ago. And so I think that's why I think things were moving lower last year. Things are heading slightly higher. The economy has been showing signs of strength. You look at retail sales, you look at housing activity. Existing home sales were up 3.4%. Right, this past month, the strongest month. I think we had the strongest month. It is in existing home sale. Of course, that was homes that went under contract in September. But really, there's been a kind of uptick in activity recently that suggests that perhaps we're going to see some strength, some resistance to further disinflation in the next months, in this month's data.
Anything in particular on the consumer side that is driving costs, or that where consumers are dealing with additional costs and expenditure?
I mean, look, I think especially on the core front, right? So on core, when it comes to core inflation, I think you've had a lot of the disinflation that came from a big drop in energy prices. So anything that, and I don't think we should expect energy prices to continue falling. And so small, right, like a little bit of resistance there could potentially cause prices or headline prices to go up faster, to accelerate.
Yeah.
You also have just the fact that consumers are still out spending.
Right.
Incomes are rising faster than debt obligations.
Mm-hmm.
And so the household budgets, household finances have actually improved over the past year.
Yep.
And so there's plenty of reasons to go out there and spend. And then of course you got the holiday season coming up.
Yep. Quickly.
Yeah. And so I think we're going to see some strength going forward. On top of that, by the way, all of this is happening at a time where the Fed is cutting interest rates, right? And so, so we're probably going to see some strength and resistance to further disinflation in the months ahead.
Yeah, a couple of things that I'm pulling out from the Bureau of Economic Analysis report. Within the goods, where they're seeing an uptake, right, or an uptick. The largest contributors were non-durable goods, led by prescription medication, food and beverages, motor vehicles, and parts for automobiles. Kind of an interesting mix of just things that we all, in some way, shape, or form need. I mean, it would be hard to sort of pass on your prescription drugs if you're required to take them. Of course, the choice to buy a new vehicle. And there's a lot of changes going on in that marketplace. I mean, you and I haven't checked in on the auto industry lately, but there are a lot of cars that are sitting out on lots, especially in particular, I should say, like electrified vehicles by U.S. manufacturers, not named Tesla.
Yeah, I mean, this is where we were headed, but I think you look at the latest numbers and you see kind of a resurgence, so to speak, of economic activity, which is not bad. I mean, if we can continue to see strong productivity growth, um, then potentially we're not going to see prices accelerate too much, right? But at least we have we'll have a strong labor market. Things seem to be on the up and up, and that's kind of what I've been seeing for the past couple months now, which explains why, if you look at the 10-year yield, right, it's been up a lot,
Yeah.
even though the Fed has been cutting interest rates, right? There's a sentiment that economic growth remains very strong and could remain that way, and that potentially you could even have some reflation in the months ahead. And so that sentiment is likely to prove itself correct in the
Like we,
data that's coming.
Yeah, like I said, it's a pretty light week, but we will get the Case-Shiller Home Price Index will be out this week for
Yeah, I
that
think we'll
20
also
city
get new
measure.
home sales. New home sales is
Yeah,
also a
same
big
day
one.
on Tuesday.
Yeah, I think new
And
home sales will be interesting because on one hand, I think that we project them to fall, but they're probably going to remain higher than a year ago.
right.
Um, Especially because mortgage rates are still much lower than they were last year. So it's going to be interesting because we saw an uptick in existing home sales last month, and so the big question is: are we going to see an uptick in new home sales this month? Um,
Good
big
question.
question mark. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the consensus is that new home sales will fall, but I wouldn't, with more inventory coming, and builders able to make the deals work, home builder confidence on the rise, perhaps we might get surprised and see new home sales show up in a
Yeah.
big way. In September, new home sales were the highest level since May 2023, and
Uh-huh.
so it'll be very interesting to see whether or not that pace continues.
Handful of other reports coming out. I mean, nothing. I don't say like that these reports don't matter, but we'll get a GDP first revision for I guess it would be for the third quarter.
Yeah.
We're also going to see a number that comes out on Wednesday. Just a pending home sales number. But I imagine you'll cover most of this ground in your column at the Center Square this coming week.
Yeah. GDP, I don't expect a big revision there. Strong but slowing. And then don't forget pending home sales really going to, mortgage rates have increased since. And so it will be very interesting to see whether or not we see an uptick in pending home sales or if home sales drop again.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your thoughts as always. For Orphe Divounguy, this has been Chris Krug. Subscribe to Everyday Economics and dozens of other really terrific podcasts at americastalking.com.